Easy and Slow Storytelling with Tim Cook. For a long time, Tim Cook was seen as a question mark. The man who followed Steve Jobs. The operations executive. The caretaker. Not the visionary. Not the genius. Just the one who kept things running. That assumption shaped how the world judged him. And it turned out to be wrong. When Tim Cook became CEO of Apple, expectations were low. Not because Apple was weak, but because Steve Jobs was larger than the company itself. Jobs was myth, personality, intuition, drama. Cook was none of that. He was quiet, measured, almost invisible. And that contrast defined the early skepticism. Many believed Apple would slowly fade. That innovation would stall. That without Jobs, the magic was gone. What they missed was something essential. Apple did not need another Steve Jobs. It needed something else entirely. Tim Cook is not a product visionary. He does not obsess over design details in public. He does not dominate keynotes with intensity. His strength lies elsewhere. In systems. In scale. In discipline. In execution at a level few companies ever reach. Cook joined Apple in 1998. At the time, Apple was near collapse. Inventory was bloated. Supply chains were inefficient. Cash was tight. Cook came from operations. And he treated Apple like a logistical problem to solve. Factories were streamlined. Inventory was cut dramatically. Efficiency improved. That work saved Apple long before the iPod did. This background shaped how Cook thinks. He believes great products fail without great operations. That elegance in design means nothing without reliability. Under Jobs, Apple was a creative engine. Under Cook, it became a global machine. And that shift was deliberate. When Jobs passed away in 2011, Cook inherited more than a company. He inherited a myth. And myths are dangerous. Trying to imitate Jobs would have failed. Cook understood this quickly. He did not try to replace Jobs. He tried to stabilize Apple. In the early years, Cook focused on continuity. Incremental improvements. Refinement. Expansion. The iPhone continued to dominate. The iPad matured. Mac evolved quietly. Critics called this boring. But boring was exactly what Apple needed. Stability allowed scale. Then the strategy widened. Apple Watch was not a revolution. It was an ecosystem extension. Services began to matter more. Music. Payments. Subscriptions. Cloud. Apple shifted from a device company to a platform company. That transition took time and patience. Cook also changed Apple culturally. Under Jobs, secrecy and internal pressure were extreme. Cook kept secrecy, but softened the internal environment. More collaboration. More predictability. Less chaos. This made Apple more sustainable. Even if it made it less dramatic. One of Cook's defining traits is risk avoidance. Apple rarely moves first. It watches, waits, refines, then enters late, with scale and polish. This frustrates critics, but it has worked consistently. Apple does not chase trends. It absorbs them. Financially, Apple under Cook reached heights once unimaginable. Market value soared. Margins remained strong. Supply chains expanded globally. Apple became one of the most profitable companies in history. Not through radical bets, but through relentless optimization. But Cook's leadership is not just operational. He took public stances jobs avoided. Privacy, human rights, corporate responsibility. Apple positioned itself as a values-driven company. This brought praise and criticism. Cook accepted both. He believes neutrality is a choice, and often the wrong one. Privacy became a core identity, not a feature, not a slogan, a strategic line. Apple framed itself as the counterweight to surveillance-driven tech. This limited some revenue opportunities, but strengthened trust. Cook chose long-term positioning over short-term gains. There are limits to this approach. Apple is sometimes seen as slow, conservative, unwilling to disrupt itself. AI is one example. Competitors move faster, experiment more publicly. Apple waits, and that waiting creates pressure. The risk is not failure. It is irrelevance. Another criticism is dependency. Apple still relies heavily on the iPhone. Despite services growth, despite new products, the core remains the same. And markets do not stay static forever. Cook understands this. But changing a foundation that's strong is dangerous. Tim Cook's Apple is not revolutionary in style. It is evolutionary. It focuses on durability, on control, on consistency. That makes it resilient, but also cautious. The balance is delicate. The real legacy of Tim Cook is not innovation theater. It is scale with discipline, values with profitability, stability without stagnation. He proved that charisma is not required to lead a giant. Clarity is. The open question remains: can Apple make its next leap under this philosophy? Or does the future demand a different kind of risk? A different kind of courage? Because operations can sustain greatness, but only vision can redefine it. And that tension defines Tim Cook's era.